Hey guys, it's the New Movie Thing show where we watch new movies, and I'm here with Joe Beretta.
Hello.
And I'm Steve Zaragoza.
And we watched The Babadook. This is Jennifer Kent's directorial debut. She also wrote the movie.
Yeah.
This is a horror flick that's out right now that's getting a lot of praise from like the film festival circuit to critics and to audience members all around.
Yeah, it's got a lot of buzz. William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist, dubbed one of the scariest movies of all time, if not arguably the scariest movie of all time, said that The Babadook was the scariest movie he had ever seen.
And I feel like he's probably just like getting a little old in age.
Yeah, I mean,
complimentary.
I think it could be agreed that there's a slight bit of overhype surrounding The Babadook in a very slight way.
So that being said, don't go into this movie thinking you're going to see the scariest thing you've ever seen. Go into it thinking you're going to see a very good genre flick with amazing atmosphere and really cool acting.
Yes, so who does the movie star?
It stars Essie Davis as the mother, single mother, widowed mother, raising a 6-year-old boy, and the movie is about their experience with the Babadook, which is an entity, an evil spirit, an evil something that comes out of a children's book that mysteriously ends up in their house.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the whole movie is I would categorize it as more of like a psychological horror film, more than kind of like your like a slasher,
which is the best type of horror.
Which is the best
because this isn't. They don't rely on jump scares. They don't rely on cheap effects. This whole movie it puts you in a weird place mentally because you see the psychological trauma that both mother, who's having a hard time raising a very hyperactive son, deals with, as well as the pain of a kid growing up without a father and being considered the weird one.
And I also think that it's an interesting take on grief and kind of like the psychological turmoil one must face when they are in a position of intense grief, like the mother is.
I think even go farther than that, it's an exploration into the feeling of loneliness.
Yeah.
Both for the mother and as a family, because it becomes very clear very early in the film that these two people exist within a bubble, mother and son, and then going even deeper into that, they're in two separate bubbles within this bubble, where maybe it's not exactly heaven raising a child.
Right.
And it's really freaking hard, and maybe you don't like doing it. And that's one of the best parts about the film that everybody else is going crazy about, is that it's a very honest portrayal on what it's like to be a single mother raising a kid. Which
I don't think is seen enough in the motion picture world, in the television world, and in media in general. I feel like there's this over-glorification of the amazing beauty of being a parent. And I feel like, I personally have not experienced it. I kind of have a negative view on being a parent because I don't necessarily want to be a parent, but it's nice to see and slightly refreshing to see this kind of other side take on raising a child on your own, and it seems to be like a hellish nightmare for this poor woman because she's going through a lot. She's very sad, very depressed. She's not sleeping very well, and on top of that, she's going through a lot of grief because her husband passed away and all this stuff's happening in her life. And she's got a crazy kid who's out of his mind and weird and
so those are the submersive themes of the film that set the stage and give you the spice of what's going on, but really why you're watching it is for the Babadook and the evil entity in which they're dealing with. So let's talk about the acting and how they deal with it.
Acting was fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably
great.
why it's getting so many raves right now. She does a great job of making you, one, feel for her as a mother, two, be annoyed with the kid, which, by the way, that's a journey you take by the end because you're on that kid's side at the end. You kind of flip places. It's really good at the journey of characters. And then the kid actor does an amazing job of, from one, going from annoying as hell to incredibly frightened to heroic and sympathetic at the end.
Right, and a kid that's not a great actor, and I think more importantly, something that a lot of people don't think about is a director directing a kid is usually like not great. Like you have directors that can direct children like amazingly. Like you got your Spielbergs that can direct kids like crazy. I mean, he knows how to direct children. And then you have, maybe your George Lucases who didn't really know how to direct Jake Lloyd.
He closed his eyes and just pointed.
And just said, do that, and that's good. And then you have a lot of directors that aren't necessarily good with kids. And I feel like when you strike it rich and you have the combination of a well-acted kid who can act amazingly and a director that can handle directing a
because
child.
She clearly has a vision.
Oh, yes.
This was her movie from start to finish.
Yeah.
Then it's a beautiful thing. So let's talk about...
Very beautiful thing.
going further with the director's vision, then the atmosphere of the movie was outstanding.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like one of those. It's hard to categorize this movie. Like, it's hard to compare it. It actually kind of does have an Exorcist feel to it.
It does, because it feels like it's set in today. Like, they talk about the internet, they talk about TV, but you don't even see the internet. You don't see technology, but it's there. You can see that there's an influence, and I think that was a really big choice, because like you said, it feels like a 1970s horror movie.
Yeah, it really does.
The palette of it is kind of like dark
color
and
scheme.
muted. It's great.
And also, something that cannot be not talked about, something we have to absolutely talk about, is the sound design.
We said it. We both looked at each other in the middle of this movie and we go, the sound design in this is amazing.
Which is one of the first things that really grabbed me about The Exorcist. The Exorcist has arguably the greatest sound design in any movie ever, let alone any horror movie. And I feel like this director possibly pulled influence from that, in the sense that you can make or break a horror movie with sound design. If it's like creaky door bullshit and like jump scare, like, and the music gets all like creepy crawly and you know you're expecting something scary is gonna happen, or you can kind of flip the switch and do what this director did and what these production people did, and actually use the sound as a way to just set the tone, to kind of keep it simplified. And when things start to get scary, you're hearing shit you've never heard before. There are many sounds in this movie that I'm like, wow, I've never heard a monster make that sound.
Well, and the best part about it is that sound design, the atmosphere she created, even the way she told the story, it's all about the psychological fears that you go through. And that's why this movie works, is because even with the monster itself, which everything I'm pretty sure was done with practical effects,
which is amazing,
in camera,
if it's true.
It's not like a special effect extravaganza or anything like that. But from the simple storytelling choice to go from the scary thing in this children's book, which kind of makes you feel weird because the art design just kind of throws you off a little bit, to when you finally see the reveal later in the movie, it's all in your mind the whole time. The scary stuff, the frightening moments come from you wondering what's next. What are you going to see?
And those are the best horror movies where you have to kind of complete the image of what the scary thing is. That's why I love Alien so much. That's why I love The Shining so much. That's why I love The Thing so much. Even though The Thing is something where you very visually see the creatures and monsters, you never got to see what the actual alien looked like. And that, to me, is scarier than showing you the whole full thing in beautifully well-lit CGI glory. And I feel like with the Babadook, it's a creature that is very well made, very well designed. The design of the creature is fantastic. You do get to see it. That's not a spoiler alert. But it is, again, if it's practical, which it seems to be, it's fucking genius, and it's kept, it seems like the whole film is kept under budget too. Like, it's one of those,
it was super cheap.
It's one of those cheap
She had
movies,
to, I think I read it was around $2.5 million that she raised from the Australian government for film incentives and stuff, but that wasn't enough, so she had to kickstart for about $30,000 to get the film made, which is really cool. And another side note, again, she's a first-time director, which is amazing. Her voice is just, it's just so on point. You can tell she had a vision from start to finish. Apparently, she didn't go to school. She was an actress. She didn't go to film school or anything like that. She wrote Lars von Trier and said, Lars von Trier, and was like, hey, can I just watch you direct a movie? And he said yes. So that was her schooling. She just watched him direct a movie, and she picked up some cues and some pointers that way.
I want to see this woman develop into a brand new John Carpenter-esque type. I mean, John Carpenter is kind of like a very general way of describing like a good horror movie director, but I want to see this woman go off and direct more horror movies. I want to see what else she can come up with. I want to see what happens maybe when you give her a budget.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily want to see her just do horror. I just want to see her take humans, and because I think that was the best part, the human interaction
and
that
just
she
characters
created in the movie. It was just real.
Really quick, it's because I'm a huge horror movie fan, and as you are too, you're a horror movie fan. How does this like compare to? I mean, it's really hard for me to articulate what I'm trying to say because it's been so long since I've seen a horror movie that affected me so much as this movie did. Like, this movie affected me in a very positive way. I'm just not used to seeing a good horror movie.
But to be clear, like we said at the beginning of the review, it's not good because it's necessarily frightening. We were on edge a lot. It makes you tense. It's really good at making you feel feelings in yourself and for the characters as they go through this hell. You're not gonna have nightmares because of this movie.
Well, I kind of,
depending on who you are.
I was a little creeped out at
it's
night.
Creepy, but you aren't gonna like watch. It's not the scariest movie that was ever created. It's just a really good horror flick.
You know what's scarier than the Babadook is being a single parent, probably. And that's what this movie kind of shows you. This movie was like putting on a condom and being thankful for that condom in every way. It's very good birth control, I think this movie is. Anyway, okay, I think we've talked a lot about it, but we're not the only ones that saw it. Other people saw it and reviewed it. What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes?
On Rotten Tomatoes right now, it's got a 98% fresh rating from the critics.
Yeah.
And then over on Internet Movie Database, it's a little bit lower. I think it's a 6.7 right now.
But right now it's in a limited release, and I think in New York and LA, and then it's going to go wider, I believe. And if not, this is definitely one of those movies where if there is a way for you to see it, I absolutely recommend going to see it. Bring someone that you want to cuddle with, bring someone you like, bring your friends you like to get scared together. It's definitely one of those movies, and enjoy probably one of the greatest attempts at making a modern Exorcist that I have seen since The Exorcist.
You really liked it.
I mean, at least I really liked it. I didn't find it as scary as The Exorcist by any means, but it's so ambitious and so well made. It's almost sad to categorize it as a horror movie.
Yeah, I just think it's a really good movie.
It's a good movie.
Yep.
So anyway, that's that, guys. Thank you so much for watching the New Movie Thing Show. If you want to see more things or talk about, if you saw the Babadook, talk about it in the dang thing downstairs, and also please don't spoil anything for
Yeah,
people.
come over to our house. We'll talk about the ending.
Let's talk about the Babadook. And by the way, without giving away anything, without spoiling too much, this is absolutely one of those movies where the ending is very open-ended, and it's very much open to debate, and very much... it's one of those movies you
future
can talk
conversation.
about. Yes, perfect for future conversation because it's sort of unclear what exactly is happening in the end. But those are the best kind of movies, so you can keep talking about them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Steve Zaragoza.
I'm Joe Beretta.
Babadook.
Babadook. Duck. Duck. Duck.
Babadook.
Duck. 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 Dick.
Dick?
Dick.